Tears of the Kingdom has two endings. Kind of. One is the normal ending for completing the game, and one is the true or secret ending, which is the normal ending plus an extra cutscene after the credits. Now, the story and endings may not be as ambiguous or confusing in Zelda as they are in, say, Elden Ring, where I have explained endings before, but there are enough moving parts that I think an explanation video will help piece everything together. There's a lot more to say about this game than there was in Breath of the Wild, so I want to put together a clear narrative in this video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if I do a good job. And obviously, big spoiler warning. I think a good starting point for our discussion is the end sequence of the game, when you journey into the depths under Hyrule Castle and begin the final boss fight. If you completed all of the sage quests, then the 5 sages of the current age will join you: Tulin, Sidon, Unibo, Riju, and Mineru. You all fight the small mobs, and eventually each one of their respective scourges show up. The sages find their respective match and leave you, Link, to go forward and confront Demon King Ganondorf. As we enter the lair, we find shriveled up Ganondorf sitting atop a tree stump. The whole room is covered in roots, evoking the spreading of his gloom throughout the lands of Hyrule. It also connects back to when we first woke up after being attacked at the beginning of the game. The room Link wakes up in on the Great Sky Island is similarly covered in roots and branches. And in typical evil villain fashion, Ganon monologues about how peace is bad before transforming into his original warrior form. Granted, he does have the secret stone in his forehead, but beyond that, it's how he looked as a normal Gerudo. We engage in single combat with the Demon King before he goes full-on anime. Literal, this is only a fraction of my power, extending his health bar across the screen, looking like a glitch type anime transformation. There isn't much to explain with this sequence other than it's Ganondorf recharging the power that was sealed away by Rauru. And that power is getting strengthened by the secret stone that Ganon still has. After the transformation, the sages slowly trickle in, only to be knocked out by a power blast from Mr. continues to be super anime finger taunt. Then it's back to one-on-one. But even with all the gloom and heartbreaking, Ganondorf is no match for Link, the Master Sword, and Gibdo bone-infused arrows. However, Ganondorf has dedicated his entire existence to conquering, so defeat is not something he's prepared for. Instead of accepting his loss, he rips the secret stone from his forehead, gives up having a consciousness, and eats the stone, along with half of his forearm. The practice of eating secret stones leads to Draconification, becoming a dragon. In the game's 5th listed memory, Mineru says that,
"To swallow a secret stone is to become an immortal dragon, one blessed with eternal life."
She also says,
"To become an immortal dragon is to lose oneself."
She says that doing so causes the user to lose their heart and mind, to lose what makes you, you. And we see this in action with Zelda, who swallows her secret stone and in a massive explosion of light becomes an immortal dragon. Zelda did this so she could bathe the Master Sword in sacred energy for centuries, so that it would be strong enough to defeat Ganondorf by the time Link could wield it. But back in our present time, Ganondorf does not seek to become a dragon for the benefit of longevity. He eats the stone because he cannot bear to lose, so he thinks turning into a dragon will bring the power upgrade he needs to cast the world into eternal night. And fitting with his dark powers, the stone turns him into a demon dragon. Fortunately, a much smaller dragon Zelda is around to help Link out. And fun fact, when we first start the game, we can see Zelda flying around the Great Sky Island. So it doesn't seem that Draconification fully nullifies the person who swallowed the stone, since Dragon Ganon still wants to destroy the world, and Dragon Zelda still wants to help Link stop him. We end the game just as we began it, flying through the air. Link must destroy each of the groups of gloom eyes on the demon dragon's back, before finally attacking a supersized secret stone on its forehead. From a few sacred light infused attacks, the stone shatters, and Ganon vaporizes in a planet-shaking explosion of red light. While that does it for the main villain, we still get a fair bit more in terms of cutscenes and plot conclusion before the curtain closes. After the explosion, as Link rides on the light dragon, his arm, the arm of Rauru, glows. It envelops him, taking him and the dragon into a realm of blue-green light, reminiscent of the shrines, Rauru's power, and the echo of Zelda we saw at the beginning of the game. The arm sends small bits of light to Dragon Zelda as the spirits of Rauru and Sonia appear. We will get more information in the final cutscene about how spirits work, so for now I'll just take that aspect at face value. Once Rauru and Sonia appear, the arm starts sending more light, and as both of them put their arms on Link's, even more light energy is sent to the dragon. This ends up transforming the dragon back into Zelda, just as she was before she transformed during the time of the Zonai. She is in the Zonai clothing and even still has her secret stone. We can't say exactly how it was that Zelda's Draconification process was reversed, but it is likely due to the specific powers of everyone involved. Zelda herself had power of time and of sacred light. From his Hylian lineage and/or his new arm, Link probably has light and time power too. After touching the Echo of Zelda, he is able to reverse time with his arm, which is not something we ever see Rauru do. And he has been bathed in light at every shrine he has visited. Plus, he is the first one sending energy to Zelda. Then we have Rauru, who has light power, and Sonia, who has time power. Rauru is a Zonai, who Minoru tells us came from the heavens and were said to be descendants of gods. This information, plus the existence of a goddess statue in the Temple of Time, may draw a connection between Rauru and the goddess Hylia. Hylia is the goddess referenced by the game's statue and the namesake for plenty of landmarks around Hyrule. In past games, she is referenced as the goddess of light, which would give us another connection for Rauru. Links to Hylia would help explain the ability to de-Draconify Zelda, as Hylia would be one of the most powerful entities in existence. Plus, the dragons come about from the secret stones, which the murals depict as coming from the heavens with the Zonai. If the stones are of the heavens, then it makes sense that influence from Hylia, being the goddess, could impact them, even alter their effects. We can also see a Hylian influence in Sonia. There are quite a few parallels to be drawn between Sonia and Zelda. Being part of the royal family, Zelda is Sonia's descendant, and Sonia confirms this by saying that she feels her own time power along with Rauru's light power within Zelda. Other Zelda lore says that the first Zelda was a mortal reincarnation of Hylia, and that each future Zelda is a descendant of that Zelda. If the Zelda of Tears of the Kingdom is also a descendant of Sonia, this could mean that Sonia is a descendant of the mortal Hylia too. And we do have another piece of connection to the gods that all four of these characters share. Sonia, Zelda, and Link all have characteristically long Hylian ears. Rauru, being a goat person Zonai, has even longer ears. In the manual to A Link to the Past and in the Hyrule Historia, long pointed ears are associated with the gods and goddesses, specifically to listening for special messages from these divine beings. All this connection to Hylia and the realm of the gods should give some justification for how Zelda is able to be turned back. She was first transformed by a stone from the heavens, so a mix of heavenly power undoing this transformation seems reasonable, even if we were told that it should be impossible. Another detail that is easy to miss in the big flash untransformation is that Link's arm is healed too. He no longer has the Rauru arm, but his original Hylian arm, or some recreation of it. Now Link never ate a heaven stone, he just got bodied by some gloomy darkness. And with all the time and light power flowing, it's not too big of a task to heal some normal flesh. It definitely doesn't need as much justification as the reversal of an irreversible Draconification process. So I think we can say it makes sense. With that, Rauru and Sonia fade away in some form of spirit passing on moment. Link is sent back to the normal sky and races to catch a falling and unconscious Zelda. He catches her and the two land in the lake from the game's beginning. And then we get the standard final cutscene. Zelda, with her secret stone intact, takes in what has happened. She realizes Ganondorf has been defeated, and she kind of awkwardly speaks to us, well, ostensibly Link, by staring directly into the camera. She mentions that she woke up from dragon sleep after feeling a warm, loving embrace, which we can interpret as the power from Link, Rauru, and Sonia. Hyrule Castle still sits up in the air, hoisted by a chasm pillar, and Zelda closes out the normal ending of the game with an almost cliched warmth. Then, after the credits, we get the true or secret or final cutscene. The gang has made their way to the Flying Temple of Time to see Spirit Minoru off. Minoru super briefly explains that Rauru's light power and Sonia's time power channeled through Link to turn Zelda back, but we saw before that there does seem to be more of a justification for the action than just that. After saying so, Minoru begins to fade. She notes that she can
move on, join Rauru and the others, and the world will be safe.
This could just be talking about plain dying, but the language really makes it seem like passing to an afterlife or some other plane of existence. Maybe the spirits of Rauru and Sonia had not passed on since they knew the threat of their time, the Demon King, had not been stopped. Or they felt they had a duty to return Zelda to her original form. We did previously get some spirit interaction with Rauru at the beginning of the game, and we could have attributed that to the arm and its power, but this seems to show that there is some more depth to the spirit side of things in this world. The sages then assemble to pledge their fealty and support to Zelda, in a touching callback to the actions of the first group of sages. We can also see they all still have their secret stones. We don't see Zelda's in this cutscene, but after seeing it in the first, we should expect that she still has it or it's still somewhere around. It's also a bit interesting to see that all the sages are more developed and grown versions of those we helped in Breath of the Wild, other than Tulin, who is still a youngling. To be fair, he's not as much of a baby as he was in the last game, but he is very much more of a child than his father, Teba, who previously served as the Rito companion. Minoru says Rauru and Sonia will be happy to hear of the fealty pledge, which confirms that there is some spirit plane that they're all possibly chilling at having a ball. Hopefully, Ganondorf's spirit doesn't go to the same place, or things would be pretty awkward to say the least. Minoru assures Zelda that she'll tell Sonia and Rauru how much Zelda cares for them, and then she fully disappears along with her secret stone. This means there are only 5 secret stones left, at least that we know of. And as somewhat of an aside, Rauru and Sonia standing as parental figures for Zelda really drives home the descendant point I talked about before. And this also confirms, again, the post-death plane of existence where they have some sort of consciousness and they can communicate with each other. Then, Zelda finishes the scene with a speech about establishing an eternally lasting peace, before the camera pans out and the soundtrack kicks in with a rendition of the main Zelda theme, which of course doesn't play long enough. And thus ends Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I do have one more point to make regarding the Hylia connections though. Some of the design for Ganondorf in this game really look like a reference to Demise, the antagonist from Wind Waker and kind of an evil counterpart to the goddess Hylia. And the place where Ganondorf launches his original attack onto Hyrule is even called the Breach of Demise in the maps for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I figured this was one more piece of Zelda lore that made its way into this game and kind of reinforces the connection to Hylia. And with that, we should have the core points of the true ending to Tears of the Kingdom covered and explained. A huge thank you and shout out to my fellow video maker VLimit, who as a one-man army of Zelda lore helped me flesh out lots of the ideas in this video. He makes super high quality content, and I definitely recommend you check out his channel. I'll be doing more Zelda videos, so subscribe if you want to see that, and lastly, a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for supporting my work. Thanks for watching everyone, peace.